Hi, this is Nanette Hosenfeld with the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Monday, September 7th, 2015. As far as fire potential impacts this week, no real significant impacts are expected. We will see some gusty winds and low relative humidities across western Wyoming this afternoon. With high pressure forecast to build across the Great Basin, we will see a warming and drying trend begin across the entire Great Basin on Tuesday. By the end of the week, temperatures will be 5 to 10 degrees above normal, with the warmest temperatures across western Nevada. With these warming temperatures, relative humidity recoveries will become increasingly poor. Over the past 24 hours, some precipitation fell across portions of southwestern Utah, and some of these storms were rather wet. You can see on the map there are areas that received between a quarter and a half inch of rain with these storms. Looking further back at the past 14 days, it's interesting to note where most of the precipitation has fallen over the past 2 weeks. And it's really been across portions of southern and eastern Utah and the higher terrain of central and eastern Idaho. It's interesting to notice that most of Nevada has been quite dry. With the exception of eastern Nevada, much of the state has really missed out on the precipitation over the past 2 weeks. Fire activity was light across the Great Basin yesterday afternoon, with a few new starts mainly across Utah. There are still some ongoing larger fires across the mountains of central Idaho. The water vapor satellite shows a low pressure system over Canada, and that will continue to make its way east. And there's also high pressure to the southeast of the Great Basin, and that will build west and north into the Great Basin through this week. Also, interesting to note is Hurricane Linda off the west coast of Mexico, and that will travel north and west through the week. Significant fire potential is generally low, with the driest fields across Nevada and western Utah where precipitation has not been as widespread. This afternoon, we are expecting to see some showers and thunderstorms across southern Utah where some moisture does remain in place. These storms will be generally terrain-based. They'll form over the higher terrain and then spread over the adjacent valleys. Winds will generally be quite light across the Great Basin with the exception of some gusty winds expected this afternoon across western Wyoming and southeastern Idaho. Conditions will be quite dry across Nevada this afternoon. As you can see, there are some single-digit relative humidity values forecast by this afternoon. Moving into Tuesday, that dry air will continue to spread across the Great Basin. Relative humidities will trend downwards from today into tomorrow, and wind gusts will also take that same downward trend. Moving into Wednesday, we'll continue to see that dry air and high pressure building over the Great Basin. And with this warming and drying trend, we will see fuels begin to dry out from west to east. Humidities will continue to trend downwards as well as winds, and winds will become increasingly terrain-driven through the week. Moving into Thursday, that high pressure still continues to build over the Great Basin, and that trend will continue into Friday and Saturday as we see high pressure increasing across the Great Basin. As that high pressure strengthens and moves over the area, we will see temperatures continue to rise. Conditions will become increasingly dry, and we are expecting fields to be quite dry by the end of this week. ERCs have taken a sharp downward trend across the northern part of the area. It's interesting to look at the chart from GB1. You can see that sharp decline that's happened over the past few days with cooler, wetter weather that's been in place across that area. However, elsewhere in the Great Basin, where conditions have not been quite as wet, the ERCs haven't plummeted as drastically. And you can see in GB21 and GB12, those are represented in the charts on the right. ERCs have fallen somewhat over the past few days, but they are still above normal and in some cases approaching that 80th percentile line. Finally, looking at the 8 to 14 day period, we are expecting above normal temperatures across the western part of the Great Basin and below normal precipitation across the northern part of the Great Basin. So that's it. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us. Our information is on the screen, and you can also find us on Twitter. Thanks.